This video is about compositions, and that's where we use a reflection or rotation first, followed by a translation. And it's always best to check for a reflection first because they're the easiest ones to check for. And so first of all, I'm going to check for a reflection around the y-axis first and see if it works. So let's see, we're going to go ahead and check for A. If you look at A, if it's a reflection around the y-axis, both of them should be on top. And you can see that A prime is on the bottom instead of the top, so the A and A prime are in the wrong spots. So the other thing that we can check for is for a reflection around the x-axis. When I do that, if I check C and C prime, C and C prime should both be on the right hand side, but C is on the left hand side, C prime is on the left hand side, it should be on the right hand side. So that lets us know that it's not a reflection. So C and C prime are on the wrong sides, they should both be on the right side. So that means by default it has to be a rotation. And this is where you just have to make a guess. If you think it's a 90, you'll check it for a 90. If it's 180, check it for a 180. You just have to make a lucky guess. So looking at this, I think I'm going to check for a 180. So that's just my flat out guess. I think it's a 180 rotation. And then followed by some translation, which we'll find out a little bit later. Okay, let's look at let's take a look at A and A prime. Why don't we? I think that would be a good spot to begin. So A is located at, looks like 8 and 12. If I rotate A 180 degrees, it has to end up at a -8, -12. Now remember, on a rotation, for every 90 degrees, the X and Y switch places. So they switch for that 90 degrees, and then they switch back places. So that's why they end up as an 8-12 combination, and then they take the sign of the quadrant number 3, which makes them both negative. So let's go ahead and plot A prime. There's A prime, but A prime in the diagram has changed, so I have to figure out how that A prime has changed. So I'm going to count from A prime that's in red and see how it changes. It looks like it goes to the right 3 and then up 4, so that translation is X plus 3 and Y plus 4. Now before I have this set, it's always good to check one more point, because it can work on 1. If it works on 2, you know you've got it right. So there's our general rule. Now we're going to check another point. And it doesn't matter which one you check. I think I'm going to check C. I think C will be easiest to check. So remember, you always must check another point. Okay, C to C prime. C is at 10 and 3. So if I rotate it 180 degrees, so let me think about this. 180 degrees, let's see, C prime would be at a -10 and a -8. I'm kind of running out of room right there. Now let's go ahead and plot C prime at a -10 and a -8. So -10 and a -8 would be right there. I guess it's 10 and a -3. Sorry, I couldn't read my own writing. So 10 and a -3. So we count up 1, 2, 3 to the right, and then we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and it works. So very good. So that's how we do a rotation followed by a translation. So the rule is 180 degrees rotation. It doesn't matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. They both end up the same spot. And then we have a translation of x plus 3 and y plus 4. Okay, very good. So go ahead and we'll move to the next problem. So now we have to check for a reflection first, and then we'll check for a rotation. Okay, let's pick some points out to take a look at. Let's look at D and D prime. You can see both of those are on the top. So if we were reflecting around the y-axis, they'd both stay on the top. So the D's check out. Let's take a look at some other points. Let's take a look at the A and A prime. They're both on the outside, so the A's check out. If it's a reflection, they both should end up on the outside. And we can go ahead and check another one. They're really easy to check. Let's take a look at the C's. C's are both on the inside, so this has to be a reflection. Okay, very good. So we're good to go on this. Alright, let's go ahead and start with our points. We're going to reflect on the y-axis. So let's start at the point C. I think that would be the easiest one to check. So we're going to check C to C prime. Now one thing to remember is that C prime is on the line. So I have 0 to 5, and then C prime will be 0 to 5. Okay, when I count over C, C goes to the right 7. And then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's go ahead and check a second point. Let's say that we want to check, I think the next easiest point to check would be A. B would be easy too, but that's just the one I'm going to choose. So let's check A to A prime. A is at, looks like it is 8 from the axis of reflection, line of reflection, the y-axis. So it'll flip around to the other side. It goes over to 8. And then let's see if it goes down. It goes to the x plus 7. And then I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it works out. So y minus 8 is how far I went down, and x plus 7 is how far I went over, so it checks out. So my rule is it's a reflection around the x-axis or y-axis, excuse me, and a translation of x plus 7 and y minus 8. So that's the composition.